Okay, so we're actually live here on Facebook and on YouTube. So you can get us on any channel, Facebook or YouTube. If you go on YouTube, just put in the candidates for Beaumont, Texas. Okay, this afternoon we have well, first of all, welcome back to Blue Table Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Deborah Jones, and my co-host will be in pretty soon. She's gonna pop in and come with us a little later, but just keep her in prayer, and then she'll pop in. Okay, tonight we have several candidates who are running for several offices in Beaumont.
Yes.
Right here in Beaumont. Our first candidate we have tonight, and she'll be on from 6:30 to 7 o'clock. And this is Treva Hisport Johnson. And oh, she said she's backstage.
All
and,
right.
so we'll talk to her for 30 minutes, and we're gonna hear what Treva has to say. Treva is running for um, BISD District 3, right? Am I right?
Yes.
Okay,
That's
so
right. That's right.
she's going to talk to us tonight about what's going on and why she's running, and what she's planning on doing when once she gets the seat. So right now, Treva, I want to know myself, why are you running for District 3 and for Beaumont Independent School District?
Well, I am running for, first of all, thank you for having me here. And thank y'all for tuning in tonight. I really appreciate being here and I love coming on to your show. This is my second time.
Thank
So
you.
I'm,
Yes.
yes, thank you. So I am running because I feel like there's some disconnect between where we are now and where we have been in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's too many old mindsets in place that is not benefiting the children the way they need to be benefited. I think that there needs to be someone with a fresh perspective, someone who has the ability to speak to all types of people of all different economic backgrounds and all different ethnicities to give a understanding and a sense of transparency to these parents so they can just be more prepared and more equipped. I love children. I've been in the schools for a lot of years, doing poetry and, speaking life into these kids and educators. And so I want to do that, but on a grander scale. And so I want to be an advocate for them. And one thing about it is, with the title or without the title, I'm going to do the work. But with the title, it puts me in the arena where I can be heard more effectively, right? To make those people in those high positions think and really give a critical look to all of our schools in this entire district to make sure equity it comes across the board in many areas.
Cool. Let me go ahead and talk to my viewers. Everybody, if you're watching on Blue Table Talk, go ahead and put come on the comment side and tell Treva hello, because she's here tonight and she's representing as a candidate for the Beaumont Independent School District for the Board of Education, and she's in District Ward 3. So Treva, what unique educational challenges in our district do you plan to address?
The unique educational challenges is, first of all, the literacy.
Mhm.
I think that is one of the primary reasons for the failing test is the children don't understand what they're reading. They don't even, a lot of them don't know how to read. And something I see and I know is happening is they kind of just get pushed along.
Mhm.
They get pushed along. And so I definitely want to attack that because pushing them along, we we're preparing them. Yes, of course, we're preparing them to go to the next grade. But essentially, we need to be preparing them for life, right? Because life is what's going to happen when school is done. So those life lessons should start as early as they're in kindergarten. So we need to be during life, you to be able to excel in life or understand anything in life. What do you have to learn how to do? What do you have to know how to do? Read. Because if you don't read adequately, it's going to hinder you and it's going to affect your life in a very adverse way. It really is. And I think that, like, look at what's going on. We have all of these children. who are committing crimes. So many children. I'm not talking about petty crimes. We're talking about murder.
Yes.
Murder.
Yes.
So, how do we start in the schools to stop that behavior? Because what's happening at home? So, we have to come together collectively to look at some other options. We have to come up with some other ideas. We have to come up with something that's going to work to let these children know that life is not a game,
Right.
that life is precious, and someone else's life is equally as precious as yours. We have to get into the households to talk to the parents and let the parents know that we're working together to bring up these children in a way that they should be, right? And so that's what I really want to do. I want to find a way to get inside the homes, speak with the parents. God gave me a gift of words and action, because I'm real big behind, if whatever I say, your word is your bond. My word is my bond. So, all the words that God has given me to speak to a plethora of people in so many different arenas, so many different states, so many different countries, to uplift and bring out, I want to use that same gift and more with our babies and our educators.
Yes. I want to thank Dolores Moore Smith. She said bringing in prayer back to school. That is my pet peeve. I've always said they took prayer out of school and brought the guns in.
Yeah, they did. They
But
did.
we see too many of these children and going into the jail because they're shooting somebody. They done shot somebody, or they slapped somebody, or they don't have any kind. They don't have any. They don't have no kind of remorse about what's going on. They just do what they do,
But can
and
I say something?
yes,
You know how we bring prayer back in school? We have parents to teach their children how to pray.
that's the
You
first
hear?
thing. It has it
That's the
has to start.
first
It has to start
thing.
at home. It has to start
It
at home.
has to start at home. It have to, because they are sending the children out, and when those teachers get those kids, they getting every generational curse, every family problem, everything that go on in that household is coming to that classroom. And it's
Mhm.
it's it's not just one. We're looking at 20 different situations.
Right, right,
So if we get the parents to talk about prayer. That's the only way prayer was able to get out of the classroom,
right.
because you didn't have enough parents to stick up and say we need to keep it in the
In the
classroom,
classroom. In the classroom.
right?
Right. I
And
want.
we go ahead, Miss Deborah. I'm sorry.
No, no, I didn't mean to cut you off. I didn't mean to cut you off. Look, I just want to thank Ronnie and Dolores for coming on and saying hello and giving a comment. Go ahead, you guys. Let's give Treva questions and give comments about the school district, because that's what she's running for. She's running for a seat for District 3. So,
Yes.
and Beaumont Independent School District. So we got to know, why is she running? What is she going to do to when she gets there? Is she going to be just another seat, or is she going to do that and do some work? So let me ask you a question: how do you plan to maintain transparency and accountability regarding these influences, regarding with everything you're saying? Because I read
So,
your bio,
yeah.
and yeah, so I want to know how you plan on doing all this.
So with transparency, first of all, you have to start on the inside,
Right.
right? So I could sit here and say a lot of things that I'm gonna do, but I have to respect the fact that I'm coming in as a part of a team. So
Mm-hmm.
the first thing I need to do is speak to the team, right? To see where their head is at, what's going on, why is there not more transparency? Why are there so much cover-ups? And if it's not that way, then why is it perceived that way? Because it seems like
You went out. You went out. Can't hear
you
you.
hear me now?
I hear you now. I hear you now.
Okay, okay, okay. So we have to start in-house.
Mm-hmm.
We have to start in-house, because we have to get everyone on board with, number one, integrity. And I can't say I know what these people have been doing that's on the board. I don't, because I'm not in
You're not
their
sure.
secret
Yes.
meetings,
Yes.
in their private meetings. But I'm really looking forward to being in the room, because one thing about me is I don't change. And I
Right.
work like I work for God because I do work for God.
Right.
On my regular job, I work for God. On anything that God has, the place He's put me in, I'm a worker. I work with integrity. And I don't believe in false narratives, and I don't believe in this whole the problem is we look at this district as a business, and I want to bring it back to the children. I want
Mm-hmm.
to bring it back to the children, to the board members that's sitting there and the superintendent, because I
Right.
understand that you're looking at this from a business perspective, but if we have so
Absolutely.
many failing students, then the business is failing, right?
Right. Right. Right.
And that's the things that I will bring to them and speak truthfully. I won't bite my tongue. I
Mm-hmm.
won't sit because the title, they could have the title. I've been working in the schools and going to continue to work in the
Right.
schools, as I
Right.
said, with or without it. But having that title puts me in the room with the people who can make the difference for the
Right.
children. And that's what I'm going to stand up for. I'm an
Right.
advocate for our seniors with Medicare. That's what I do. I
Right.
advocate for them. I work for United Healthcare. And I love my job because I'm able to make a difference in a lot of elders' lives. Because just by explaining things, giving them resources, helping them when sometimes they don't have food to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in the same aspect, I'm as powerful for my seniors. I'm going to be as powerful for my youth. I
Right.
am. And I realize that there are going to be some battles that when I step in, I know. I
Oh,
know it is because the
it's
tide
already
is the
there.
tide is changing. The
Right.
tide is changing. And when the tide changes, you have folks who get nervous. But I think that the whole whatever this is, this embarrassment of not wanting the real stories to come out, that needs to die. And it needs to
Right.
die quickly.
Right.
Because in my own personal life, a lie have never served me.
Right.
It's
Right.
never served me. I've had to face some hard truths in my life and some tough tribulations, but guess what? I faced them. And I
Right.
faced them honestly and not being ashamed of who I was, not being ashamed of who I what I went through because I came out on the other side. So that's the power I want to bring to the district to help pull those parents through who don't know how to get off the system, to help pull those parents through who don't know how to be parents, to teach them soft skills, to teach them what discipline is. Because I think now there's not enough discipline in the households. We throw a phone, they want to throw a telephone at these babies and let the telephones babysit. Then, when the kids start acting out and showing what they're seeing on the phones, it's a problem. So that's why you see so many kids being abused because they don't know how to properly discipline, or you see so many children who have no gauge on behavior and they're monsters because no one disciplines them.
No one.
No one. So what I can promise is this. This is the promise I'm gonna make. I don't switch up. You can ask anyone who's known me for my whole life, and they'll say I'm like the what is it? The insurance used to be the Gibraltar. That was me. Secure. I'm that person. I'm real. I don't play games. And I know every step I take, God is watching me. That's who I work for. That's who I talk to. And that's who I
Absolutely.
aim to
Absolutely.
please.
So, what is your stance on on standardizing testing and the integration of technology in education? Do you believe in standardizing testing? Do you need to up the technology department, or what do you? How do you stand with that?
Personally, I don't like standardized testing because I feel like it boxes in students. I do. I've never liked it, even since I had to do it when I was in school and I had to take the TOS test. I
Hmm.
felt like it was the most unjust thing in the world, and I think that we can do something so much better. What I would like to see is us to do a study or do research on states and cities that don't have standardized testing and to see how it's working for them.
Hmm.
That's what
Hmm.
I would like to do because standardized testing has been a constant thorn in our sides for as long as I can remember.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
don't think that it's an adequate judgment of everything a student has learned. Because if you put all this weight on standardized testing, but then you insult a child by sending them to class every day for 9 months out of the year, what are we saying?
Mm-hmm.
Are the tests you take, is all of the work that you put in not worth anything if you get to this final moment and don't pass the standardized test, and then it's all for naught? No way.
But you know, like I know, everybody can test. Everybody cannot take a test.
No.
Yeah, you know,
They,
we all know that.
that's right.
So
I have a daughter who has literal test anxiety. So I'm speaking on this from a
yes,
personal perspective.
this
My
is what.
baby has struggled. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's not just school. It's she struggled any test that and it's I've watched it. It's a real thing, and so I just think that there should be accommodations for certain situations or certain circumstances. I think we need to completely revisit the whole standardized testing. I
Mm-hmm.
do. I don't think that it's successful for us. I don't like it.
Let me go ahead and thank Toya for stepping in tonight. Hello, Toya. How are you doing tonight?
Hi guys, sorry I'm late. But I
That's
wanted to
fine.
Hey,
say
Toya.
something. Hey, there is something that's implemented for someone that has special accommodations. It's up to the parent to go to the art meetings because the child can be exempt
Oh
from
yeah.
testing. But unfortunately, a lot of people don't know that
They don't.
because
And
they're
I've
not
been to
told
art
that.
meetings.
Yeah,
Hmm.
me too.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
been. Um, I've been. I just think that we need to do something different. I do. That we've done this for so long, and it's never been completely successful here. It hasn't.
Right. Right.
It has not.
May I be vocal? Can I say something? My personal opinion, this is not anyone else. I feel that as though it's put in place for us not to
Mm,
succeed because a lot of our children
Right.
are struggling. A lot of us can't test. You know you have a time test and it's going to make you fail because you're panicking. So my
precisely.
personal opinion is it's put in place for us.
Well, years ago, the testing was put in place for us because of course, they didn't want us to pass it. But now it's just not us.
Hmm.
You feel what I'm saying? Now they see
Hmm.
what's going on.
Yeah.
It ain't just the black people.
It's not.
it's, it's, it's,
It's
it's
universal.
universal. That's the word I want. Universal. So now they were like, okay, let's stop the test. Everybody's
Right.
not passing it. So they're looking into it. Let me go ahead and talk to Dolores. Say something what Dolores said. Dolores Moore Smith said, but she's going back to prayer in school. But
Hmm.
they won't, and so sad. Just don't know anymore. We need to get behind you guys. Yeah, we need to get behind everybody who's running or who you feel as both adequate for this job, and
Yes.
push them. Like
Yes.
I said today, we gotta get out there and vote.
Yes. We
It was
do.
Tree was saying it was coming along okay, but when I went out there earlier, it was slim. I
I
mean, when I
mean,
say slim, slim.
yeah. And I say okay only because it's more than it has been all these other days. And it still wasn't jumping. It was okay. You know what I'm saying? When you look at the numbers, I shared a post that it's absolutely pathetic. And this is what I want to speak to also. People, enough people, they sit here in this city, talk about Beaumont like a dog, talk about people on city council, talk about the school district, but when it's time to really get out there and make a choice to change things, you don't move off your cotton picking sofa. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? You're sitting right there, or you sit there and say, I ain't voting, my vote don't matter. Well, you know what? I'm gonna be completely real. Many years ago, I was that chick. I ain't voting because I love her, baby. Time has taught me on the
yeah,
local level, that's where your power
Yep.
is. You
yes,
understand me?
yes,
That's where the power is. If you really, the local level affects us directly,
right,
our
right,
children directly. It is essential. Yes, people who died for so we could vote also died, so you didn't have the choice, you didn't have to vote. But let me
right,
tell you something, when you don't vote, you're still voting.
right,
Okay? You
right.
still voting. You still making a choice. The choice
Okay,
saying,
you
I
make
don't
that
give a you
choice.
know what.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Exactly. And we need y'all. The demographic of 18 to 35 is
yes.
untouched here. And that is, if do y'all know if those people showed up how the numbers would look? I made my kids. Yeah, y'all better get in there.
I made all of mine. And you know what, guys? It's a law that this administration is trying to pass, and it's mainly for women, but you're gonna have to have all types of form of identification to vote. Because a lot of women do not
Mm,
change their social security cards. So if
Right,
your social
mm.
security card doesn't match your birth certificate and your identification, then you won't be able to vote. But people need to educate themselves on these
Wow.
things.
They
So
education.
do.
if it's up to them, we now they won't have a right. They won't have the right to. Then they're going to be complaining that they can't vote.
Right,
Yes, indeed.
right, right.
Don't
But
get me started
Yes,
on voting.
indeed.
they need to do it. So one more question I need to ask, because my next guest is sitting out in the audience. So let me ask you, what should the school just what should the school district do better to prepare students for careers?
Oh my gosh. First of all, we need to respect the fact that not everybody going to go to college after high school. That's number one. This is a city that's chock full of great careers. I've seen people who don't have a college diploma come out and make really nice, great livings. We need to look inside. We need to go to these companies, have them go into the schools. We need to prepare them for life. We need to
Hmm.
teach them what credit is. We need to teach them how to pay bills, how to balance a checkbook, even though you might not ever write a check. Your bank account is basically your checkbook, right?
Right.
How to save money, um, how to make groceries, how to vote. Your
Yeah.
power when you graduate high school, this is your power. You know how exciting this is for you to be able to vote? This is like a rite of passage. And I
Right.
think if we look at it that way and we approach it that way and we put more, now there are some I can't say that there are no programs in the schools, because there are some things, but I don't think there's enough to prepare these children for real life. They only
Right.
have 18 years tops to be quote unquote kids. You're gonna outlive 18 if God is with you 3 or 4 times in your adulthood. You understand? You're
Yeah.
gonna get one set of 18, then you have another set of 18, then another set of 18. You understand what I'm saying? So we need to teach these people to take those blocks of 18 years that they're going to experience in adulthood and how to be worthy adults. What happens in the criminal system? What
Right.
happens if you fool around and shoot somebody? What's the probability to that? What's the consequence? What are the repercussions to your actions?
Hmm.
We need to teach these kids because guess what? While we sitting around while patty caking with the children in school,
Mm.
as soon as they get out of school, you know what takes over? Real life.
Real life.
Real
It,
life.
it's waiting for them. It's
And,
waiting for
It's
and you
waiting
know what
for
else,
them.
guys? Teaching them, this is just me. I say we teach them the laws. So when
them.
you do
You have
something, you're
to.
gonna know the consequences.
You have
And then
to.
also, I would love to see something, Treva, where we have our young kids wanting to go into public service, because us as a Black
Yes.
community, we have to stop telling these kids, do not be cops, lawyers, judges, because we have
If
to.
we
I mean,
tell
don't make
them,
sense.
if we tell them don't do it, then how is anything going to change? Because guess what? While we're telling ours not to, there are someone else who's telling their children to do it.
To
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
it. And I want to share something else with you. I was that person that would get jury duty and I wouldn't go. Aldwin told me one day, we were talking about all of this and the statistics. He said, well, guess what? You're part of the problem because you don't go to jury duty. So
Mm,
you do
Right.
not look
Right.
like a juror of their peers. That
mm,
changed my whole
mm.
mindset
Come
on
on.
on the
Absolutely.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
like what Mr. Boris said. She makes a valid point. I asked one of our mayoral candidates the other day, and I said, "Why? Tell me," because I honestly thought it was something that. Why is Mr. Abbott? Why has he been governor for 10 years, and his next term won't end until 27? He's was voted in 2015. It's 2025. Why? You know what he told me?
Oh,
It wasn't a complicated thing. I thought it was. One
Hmm.
answer, because the people did not vote him out.
Coach.
The
Yes.
people did not get out and vote. That
Yes.
is insane to me. Because
Hmm.
when you look at a man like that, You know that Sister just said standardized testing was removed by Obama, but because of the governor that we have, he won't remove it.
Right,
That's what
right,
Sister Deborah just said in her comment.
right.
Well,
So
y'all know Hot Wheels have an opponent in 2 years, right?
having a what?
I said Hot Wheels has an opponent coming up in 2 years. Jasmine
I'm
Crockett
gonna
is
vote.
running against
Oh
him.
yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, come on, girl.
Somebody is
Yeah.
We
standing
gonna
against
have to pray for her protection,
somebody.
though.
Yeah,
Yes, we do.
you
Yes, we
do.
do.
Mm,
And
Big
start praying
time,
I'm
for it
telling
now.
you,
big
for
time.
Yeah.
real.
And we already
Yeah,
saw what happened earlier
yeah.
with
Uh-huh.
the voting. We already saw
Oh
what
Oh,
yeah.
happened.
wait. Oh, you talking about when? Okay. I thought something
Presidency.
happened with
The
Jasmine.
president's voting. No,
Okay.
but
Okay.
No,
the crack
when
on the
she do
wall.
that race.
But I'm sorry, but the
Oh,
crack on the wall says we got to go to our next
Oh,
opponent, our next candidate. I am so excited, Treva. You are awesome, and God bless
thank
you
you.
on your running for District 3. And I love you, girl.
I'm
I
Love
so
you.
love
proud
y'all
of you,
too.
I'm
sis.
proud.
Love
We proud of
you.
Thank
you.
you.
So at this time,
I love y'all too.
okay, at this time, we're going
Okay.
to give Treva farewell, and we're going to bring in our next candidate, which is Terry Roy, and he's running for City Councilman Ward 3, and we're bringing in Terry Roy right now. Hey, Terry.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Hey, T. How are
Hey,
you?
sis.
Hey,
I'm
listen.
good. Tired.
So yeah, so everybody, this is Terry Roy. He's running for City Councilman Ward 3, and so I want you to ask some questions. I want you to throw it out there. I might not be able to read it to him, but I'm just gonna put it out there so everybody can see it. So because everybody has 30 minutes, because after him comes Yolanda Avery, and she's running for school board as well, but District 2. Yes. Okay, Terry. So you're running for City Ward Clerk. I mean, City Ward Councilman Ward 3. So why you feel that this is the right time for you to run?
Well, 2 years ago I ran for at large, which is citywide.
Mhm.
I've been an advocate in Beaumont for well over 30 years, and I felt like last time that it was time for me to get out and do something, more worthy than what I was doing. Because it's a
Right,
lot of people. It's a lot of people that really need a lot of help. The city needs a lot of help. It's time for us to change. I
right,
mean, the current council, they're really doing a great job. But we need some new eyes on the city. We need some new honesty with the city. We need some new transparency with the city. We just need a lot of new stuff. But that's like I said, the current council, they're doing a great job. They've done some good things.
oh yeah,
But it's so much more that needs to be done. And
right,
that's really why I'm running, because I feel like I can make a difference. And because
right.
I have made a difference in a lot of people's lives, and that's what I want to continue to do.
What do you think is some of the most important qualities that a city councilman member should have?
He has to have integrity. He has to have the respect of the people that he's running for. Because, a lot of people are going to come at you, and you can't always be the person that never calls anybody back. And that's the key to being not just a great councilman, but a great person.
Right, right, right,
Is being a person of your word. If I tell
right.
somebody I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. And if I can't do it myself, I'm gonna find somebody that can do it.
Have you ever Have you ever worked with elected officials before?
Oh yeah, I've worked with plenty of them before. Like when I lived out in Amelia, and they always used to come by the house. Some of the elected officials, and I would work with them to try to see what kind of solutions we can get. With the city. I was on a Parks and Recs committee for 2 years, and I've been in meetings, with the city manager trying to, figure out things that we can do.
Well, you run in Ward 3, and Ward 3 has a lot of infrastructure that needs to be done. You
A
already
lot.
know, a lot.
A
Start with over here.
Yeah, I know your dilemma, but
And
the thing about it is it's a thousands of people just like you.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
that needs to be a priority, because if it's not, they're gonna have city councilmen and mayors that's over a city of no people, because
Right.
people are gonna get tired of it. you know,
Mhm.
and I know you are because
Right.
because I was.
Right.
So
Right. It's been years. It's been
and
years.
it
I've been for years.
and that's why, you know, a lot of businesses suffering from that because you go in some of these restaurants and it smells just like sewer,
Right.
you know, and it's not the restaurant's fault, you know, it's you know, unfortunately, it's the city's fault.
That's
But
it.
like I say, they're all working on it, but it's a
Right.
process. It's a process, and I think it's time that they call some kind of town hall or something and address it with the people that's going through it. Because now you have people thinking, oh, they don't care about that. They're not even trying to address it publicly.
So are you familiar with any of the current laws and ordinances that governs our city?
Am I what?
Are you familiar with any of the laws or the orders that governs our city?
Well, it's a lot of things that like using local contractors. That if we could use local contractors, that would be a plus. You know, that way you're not using a lot of out of town contractors, but we're bound by law to where we have to do that. And that's one of the biggest things that kind of hurts the city as far as growth. Because you have local companies that try to put in the bids to do work, but they can't. They have to be the lowest bidder, and that's one of the ordinances that unfortunately is not going to change. But it would help a lot,
Right. Right.
a
Right.
lot, because you know you got really good businesses out here, but they have to leave the city and go somewhere else because they can't afford to be the lowest bidder because they have to pay people. So
So if you are elected, what would be your top priorities?
well, the issue you have, the infrastructure.
Hmm.
You know, you have to realize that's why a lot of people leave. You know, because it's a fight, and until we address that, then you know that you got to start from the ground. You know, a city, anything grows from the ground, from the root, and you have to fix the root before your city can start to grow. So that's going to be my priority is that, and being more engaged with our kids and give the kids more things to do. Start investing in the kids.
We have
And,
to.
that's like if I'm elected, you know, my plan is to have, you know, you get each councilman gets to pick someone to be on committees,
Hmm.
and my plan is to put a lot of kids, younger kids, on those committees to try to let them get an insight to what it is to do things in the city, make them feel needed, make them feel important, because
Right.
a lot of kids act out when they don't have no purpose. And you have to give them a purpose. So if I can get everybody under 35 on those committees, that's what I'll do. Even some, you know, younger than 20 or younger than 25, because you have to get them involved.
I know you're running for Ward 3, but we need to improve our public safety in the city. So what is one strategy you would use to achieve the goal?
Well, we have to get into more community policing. We have to get the police out in these communities and talk to people. Because back when I was young, we had that. I knew every cop that was on the force, and we respected them. Now you know you don't have people that respect cops because they don't see them. The only time they see them is when something happening. So why not get out ahead of that and start going into the communities?
Right.
Although we don't have a lot of police to do that, and eventually we're going to have to hire more. But until we do that, you know, we're not going to have much community policing, which is vital. Because I knew growing up, I knew that if I did something wrong, you know, a cop was going to be around the corner.
Oh yeah.
And my mom didn't care what they did. Although I didn't get in trouble then.
Then I get in trouble.
Because I'd rather get whooped by the cops than my mama. So
Absolutely.
But that has to be a priority, you know. But you know, we do have to take care of our police and firemen because they're vital. But we also have to try to have the money to do that. And if we have people leaving, then the money's going to leave too.
Right, right. Some Memphis want to know what ways do you think we can improve the voting numbers of those between the ages of 18 and 20?
Well, that goes back to the involving. You know, you got to involve kids in some of the decisions that we make in the city. Even if we have to call some kind of greeting to where we can meet with those kids and find out what the problem is, what the disconnect is. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of them are disconnected because a lot of parents are disconnected. Because see, I like my kids to get out and vote, and I
Right,
encourage
right.
them to vote. And that's what we have to do as a city. We can sit back and we can blame, parents, and we can blame anybody, but we have to blame all of us because all of us are adults. And all of us need to talk to the kids and find out what are we doing wrong? What are we doing something to make you not vote? We're the ones that talks bad about things?
And
That's what we got.
yeah, we need to start at an early age,
Oh yeah,
and
we
not,
got to
not
at
just wait till
least
they're, yeah,
at least 10, 10 or 12 years
yeah.
old. They need, to teach the importance in schools. It's a lot of different things that can be done, but we have to do it and stop talking about it
Mm-hmm.
because everybody can talk, but not everybody's going to do it. I try to engage a lot of younger people and tell them the importance of voting because I like mentoring people as
Mm-hmm.
much as I possibly can. And when I do talk to them, I tell them about voting, how to get involved with the city, how to find out how things actually work.
So what do you think is the most important role that city council members play?
It's being more accessible to your constituents
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of times you don't see your councilman or whoever until this time, and then you have to be involved with the citizens.
Right.
You're every at least hold something in your community to where you can meet them and find out exactly what the problem is. Because it's a lot of people that have, a lot of problems, but they can't reach out to the councilman.
You can't reach out to them because
Yeah.
number one, they even try to, the council don't listen. I mean, especially if you're younger, they're not gonna listen to you.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate. But a lot of that, you got to figure why doesn't a kid want to listen to another adult? It may be because they're not listening to the adult at home.
It could be. Those kids are not going to respond to older generation. We need someone who can speak with them on their level.
She's right. Yeah, I agree with that. But we gotta start.
Yeah,
We gotta start somewhere.
We got to start somewhere.
If you talk to 20 of them and you only reach one, hey,
That's right.
sometimes that's how it is.
That's it. That's it.
Because I talk to a lot of kids during the year, and I may get one or I may get two, but at least that's better than
Not getting in at all.
not getting in at all. But you gotta really stress the importance of what it means to to represent your city in a positive way. And right now, as adults, we have to show the kids the positive way too, because a lot of us we're not doing that, and that's just the truth.
Guys, and I think some children will listen to
Mhm.
the older generation because I was one of those children who didn't have someone there when, growing up. I pretty much raised myself and I leaned on people in the community. It took a village. So I wouldn't say cancel all kids out, but these young kids just need a father figure or aunt or uncle, a mother, something like that. So we can't say that they won't listen to the older generation because I'm now a part of the older generation.
No, you're not. No, you're not. You're
Yes,
still a
I
baby.
am.
You're still a baby.
Because of the generation.
'Cause I can remember when Talia and AJ got me off of my couch. I was like, man, do I want to get off of this couch? Because I was discouraged by a lot of people younger kids that I tried to help, and
Right.
they didn't. Kathy's right. They didn't listen. But like I said, I got up off the couch you know, and I'm glad I did. You know, I got my mojo back. So
And Terry was one of he was one of my mentors starting out, because I used to be going in on a certain person on council, and he would inbox me and he'll be like, no, 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 no. So you never know who's watching you.
Right, right.
Thank you, T.
yeah, you know, I love you, sis. You know
Love you too.
it.
Maxine back said these kids are doing that because we talk at the kids instead of listening.
Yep.
You know.
Yep, that's true.
She's right. I want to
Yeah.
give a shout out to Mackie because she's really been helping me at the polls.
Mhm.
You know, and I didn't even ask. She just got out there and did it because she believed in me.
That's a
So,
blessing.
She
Yeah.
did. I just want to give her props.
All right, Maxine.
Thank you, Miss Maxine.
And also, how would you go about representing the interests of your constituents?
Say it again.
How would you go about representing the interests of your constituents?
Well, what I want to do is like, you know, they have like a little community meetings. I want to try to do more of those. I want to even try to do some in-home stuff. You know, if somebody want to open up their home in their neighborhood, to invite me to come by, if that's something I can do legally. You know, I'd have to find out if you can do that. I would like to do that. You know, get a group of people together. It may be people that's having some of the same issues.
Right.
I could come together and we can all sit down and talk, because it's just as simple as an email to get stuff done in the city. Because just this week I've gotten people that had problems for years, things done just by a simple email.
Maybe you have to send me that email address. So
Hey, all you gotta do is give me the word. But with your situation, you know, I know what your situation is. I mean, I know the problem and I know why it's happening.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
It doesn't. I don't know if I told you what it was before or not, you know.
You probably did, and I probably sat on it.
Don't sit on it, or it's gonna, you know, you have to get people to start telling you what it really is,
right?
What it's gonna really cost, and you know, it's gonna cost us. You know, it's gonna cost us a lot.
And is that why they don't come out? Because they know it's gonna cost them?
Is that why they what?
They don't come out to even check it because they know it's gonna cost them.
Well, you know, it could be, I think more than it may be something that's going on before it even gets to your house. Because, you know, sewer lines and storm water lines run all through the city.
Right.
And we have a lot of old infrastructure. And what it is, it's crumbling. And you have sewer water going into storm sewer water.
Right.
And what it is, it's charging up the city lines. And it's not strong enough to pull it out. So it has nowhere to go but back in people's homes. And no amount of, you know, things that they can do that can help you until they actually, you know, nip the bud in the problem. Like I say, they are trying.
Right.
But it's staggering that how much it is, because you got to realize sewer lines go up underneath freeways, streets, buildings, everything, and a lot of that stuff is broken. So you imagine trying to fix, like, I think it's like 800 or something miles of sewer lines and stormwater lines. It's a lot. And see, that's what you have to do. You have to be transparent with people and say, hey, this is what we got. This is what it's going to take. And this is how much it's going to cost. And maybe you'll have people that, you know, give them a choice. They may say, okay, I'm going to stay and see what happens. But the longer you don't tell them, they're going to get up and they're just going to leave.
Right.
I
mean, you know, you get tired of it after a while.
And, you know, I want to say something, because a lot of people think that Terry is, well, I've been told like he's just like stirring the pot. But it was a restaurant, I think it was you and I, Mama D, we went to. And I'm not going to say the restaurant name, but we were getting ready to order gumbo. And she advised us not to because of the water. You know, so this is not something that, you know, he's making up and just throwing it out there to be negative or anything.
Yeah.
So some
I'm,
people are transparent with, with you besides,
Right.
people, yeah.
well, people look at transparency as you being, like negative or whatever, or you spilling the beans. Well, somebody got to spill the beans sometimes.
Like that's Phil Bean somewhere.
Because, you got to be honest. I always tell people you got to be honest with yourself. If you see something that is not right, you got to say it. Other than that, you just like stuff to be wrong. I mean, that's the only other way I can see it. It's just hard for me to sit back and watch people suffer through stuff. You know, that makes me angry. But I'm not an angry person. I'm usually a pretty happy guy. But I
Right.
don't like when people not being transparent with people. All it'll take is just one meeting with
Mm-hmm.
people, like with you. You can have a little town hall meeting. You can go up and say what you got to say, and you have people just be honest with you. I
Right.
mean, it's not hard to do. Give you an option.
Right. I know that Ward 3 is a broad spectrum. I mean, it
Yeah,
goes from the north end to the south end,
out there in the avenues,
avenues. Right. I know it's broad.
Plant Road.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's big, but
It's
it's and then you got downtown, which is a
right.
whole nother thing. So
Downtown area. I think that's the biggest. That's the biggest ward, right? Ward 3.
I think it is, but 'cause I know they took some away from 3 and gave it to another ward, maybe 1, because 1 and 3 are pretty close. So 'cause I know
I
they
think
they
yours
gave
is the
more.
largest there.
Yeah, I'm sure, but they took some away, but not a lot, and they took some from 2 and gave it to 4, so to kind of even them out.
So, Terry, what sets you apart from you and your opponent?
I've been doing the work. I've been doing this for 30 years or more. I didn't just wake up and say, "Hey, I want to be a councilman." I've been doing the work by even not being a councilman.
Right. Right.
And I don't like talking about people. I think she's good. But when we're talking about me, I talk about what I've actually done. I've done a lot of things for a lot of people. A lot. I've gotten stuff done that, millions of dollars worth of work that I was a part of. That's probably what sets us apart. So I've been doing the work. I didn't just pop up out of the sky. Not saying that's what she did, but I'm talking about that's not what I did.
Right. Right. I understand. Understand.
And
Understood.
he also does things behind the scenes, and that's just who he is as a person. He's just not one of those people, that's just out there, taking, not saying no one else is. People don't know because Terry does not go, he works with people one-on-one. He's just not one of those people going to different events or,
I see
in church and things like that.
I see my friend Cheryl. She knows the things I've done in the South End.
Yeah. Yeah.
She knows the stuff I'm gonna continue to do. So they're gonna just let Charlton Pollard Park just go by the wayside. I mean, they had rusted, everything was rusted, and they were wanting to paint over it. But with Cheryl's help, with Tori's help, Chris, we got it done.
Yeah.
Because it was a shame the way that it looked. But it's a lot of parks that look like that. So
Right. Right.
Terry, I have a question. The schools that I want to say it was 3 schools, someone told me, that are just sitting there. Is that something that the city council vote on, or is that totally with the school board?
yeah, that's
The school
totally
district.
that's the school district. And
Okay.
that's another problem. We wasting a lot of money with the schools. BISD and the city, they combine on things, but I think we need to do a little bit more with that because the school district is suffering right now. So, but that's everybody's fault because we all sit back as citizens and watch it happen, and we don't say nothing. So that's up to us to stop the bleeding. So,
Okay, so excuse me. So when elected, what would you do to improve communication between the city officials and the public?
well, like I say, you got to call some kind of meetings where y'all can meet to bump heads and try to see exactly which direction you want the city to go. Because right now, I think we're headed in a good direction, but what is that direction?
Yeah.
What are we doing? What are we doing different from 2 years ago to now to change what we got going on in the city? Are we getting better or are we getting worse?
Yeah.
And I don't know which way we're going, but I know which way we want to go. I like to say the city right now, they're doing good things. I'm not going to take nothing from them. All of them doing great jobs. And like I say, it's not them. It's just it's me. I want to be a part of a change, and it's not nothing against nobody.
So with that being said, how well would you handle criticism?
I handle it pretty well. I'm married, so I have to handle criticism.
Yeah. Well, where's she at? Where's she at?
She at work.
That's why he's talking now.
Y'all pray for me. Ask me that again.
Where would you have? Because you know that as a city council member, you may receive a lot of criticism from the public.
Oh yeah. I'm kind of built for that. It takes a lot to rattle me, mostly because of the job that I have. I see a lot of stuff, and it doesn't really shake me too much. So, but I'm
Sure,
everybody gonna always have something to say,
right.
But you got to go in and prove that you can do what you said you can do.
Right.
If you said that you can go in and you can change your neighborhood, then yeah, do it. Show me. So that's another thing I've done. I've changed neighborhoods,
Yeah.
not just wards.
Right.
Yeah. Sometimes I need to brag on what I do. That's what Toya tell me.
Oh, he does. He's so humble, and I don't know.
Yeah, I need to stop. I know.
So when you win the election,
Mm-hmm.
are you or if you wait, let me put it like this: if you don't win the election, would you still do what you're doing now?
I'll probably double because like I say, we got so much going on. It's gonna take more than 7 people to change what we got going on in Beaumont. And like I said, a lot of times those 7 people need help, and we got to stop sitting back and not taking control of what's ours. Because the citizens have to realize you're at the top of the chart when it comes to who's over the city.
Right.
And we have to start using that we are the boss of the city. And I don't think a lot of people realize that yet. As long as you're a taxpayer, you're the boss.
Right.
And you cannot sit back and let 7 people tell you what to accept.
Right. Have you noticed how you have, excuse me? Have you noticed the polls in the certain areas that are open, how the people are not voting, and some in this area is voting, but right now they're not voting. I'm guessing waiting for waiting for the magic day.
Yeah, a lot of people do. A lot of people wait until election day. I know quite a few people that do, but these numbers they're pretty low.
It's very low.
I think we might have a better day today than we have probably for almost 2 weeks. Because I was there today and it was pretty steady.
Yeah.
Maxine, she could probably tell you how it was today because she was out there bright and early. So.
Yeah. Well, like I was telling the candidate before you, I stood out at Terrell Park And I just looked around at how scarce everything was. I'm like, you know, this place used to be jumping and popping and jumping, and it's not. You know, where are the people? Where are the people? Like the boots on the ground. They need their boots on the ground right about now.
Well, you know, you're in a city that's losing a population.
Yeah.
And you know, like I say, Terrell Park used to be packed.
Yes.
Even the polls used to be packed.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes we may have 66,000 registered voters, but all of them may not live out here.
Right.
They just may be holding their registration out here. If you figure if you get only 12, 13,000 votes every election cycle, that's not good.
No.
That's like 13%, 12%. And you know, people, you know, they see that, they lose hope for the city. Some people say that it's because of who's running, but you know, I don't believe that. I think everybody that's running is capable of running, or they wouldn't run.
But they wouldn't run.
They wouldn't run because the people that say that
it ain't easy. Number one, it's not easy.
It's not easy. I know. My friend will tell you, she know.
It's not easy, but it's worth it.
No, that's it was way out of my comfort zone to do this.
Yes.
You know, but like I say, when Toya and AJ and them pulled me off the couch, I said, you know, that's what I need to be doing. So we've been rocking ever since. So
yeah. Well, the Conquer on Walls, it's time for us to get out here for our next candidate to come in, which would be Yolanda Avery. And so she's running for school board, but it was such a pleasant talk. It was pleasant talking to you tonight, Terry.
Yeah, y'all too.
Yeah, and I'm gonna wish you well and keep it going.
Oh, I will. I can't stop.
Keep it going.
The lady on the other end ain't gonna let me stop. So
yeah, you're a good person. You know, I know you personally, but you're a good person.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I just want to say, you know, if you vote for me, I guarantee you that I'm gonna work just as hard for you, and I'm gonna try to do whatever it is I can do.
Okay.
That's all I can promise anybody. I won't make a promise that I'm gonna change the world because I can't change the world.
Right.
But I could change the things that I think that needs to be changed. So
right.
But become your own steward of what you need done. Don't sit back and wait for 7 people to determine what happens to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Be your own boss.
We'll transfer over to Yolanda Avery because she's on now, and so
bye, Terry the sewer guy.
See y'all.
All right, love. Bye.
All right, bye.
Hey, Terry.
Now, guys, we have on Yolanda Avery. She's running for school board District 2, and so we're gonna talk to her about why are you running for school board? What makes you run for school board?
The passion for children. Good evening, everyone. The passion for children in a different way. Been teaching, been around children forever, not forever, and had this inkling for a while to do more and more impact. Didn't know which way it was going to go. I looked at different areas, different avenues, and that was never enough. And literally, I just was woken up out of sleep and 2 days in a row to think about this. And then the third day, literally AJ turned a call and said, "Hey, are you on running for school board?" I'm like, "Are you been in my head for a couple of days or what?" And talked to my husband, prayed about it, and here I am.
Okay.
Hey, how you doing? Yeah. So, this is, and so the passion and just getting ready and preparing and researching, and from a teacher standpoint, thinking, to a school board standpoint, thinking, it's a lot different, but I'm ready.
Yolanda, good afternoon anyway. I didn't even say good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, good evening, good evening.
I just went right on.
That's how we do. We just start talking.
That's what we do. So what unique educational challenge in our district do you plan to address?
Well, after last week's accountability times, here we are. We gotta look at STAR. We gotta look at these things and get it ready. And it's there. It's still there. Much as we don't like it, much as we don't think, it's there. So we got to make those things happen because it's life. We go to a job and we don't maybe think like things of that job, but it's part of what we got to do. Like I tell students all the time, they ask all the time, why we got to do STAR? I said, well, do you work? Because I teach high school seniors and juniors. I'm like, yeah. I said, do you like wearing the uniform to work? Like, not really. I said, but guess what? You got to wear it. I said, so guess what? We may not like STAR, but guess what? You got to do it. Right. So I said, let's make the best of this thing and let's make it happen and do well, not just get through it, but master it. So, they look at it from that standpoint. They're like, oh, yeah, you're right. Because I want my job. So we do it. But it has to start a little bit earlier than, of course, the juniors and seniors. That's the end. But we got to start that same mindset early in the ball game because they start this test early.
Right.
So starting that mindset, they have to get it done.
Usually we say started at the beginning of the year. So, right. And you start at the beginning, you be well scheduled at the end by the end of the year.
Yeah.
I know that you are supposed to be unopposed. Am I right?
Well, yeah. Mr. Ali conceded about 3 weeks ago.
Well, why is his name still on the ballot?
There's a timeline, which I learned that also there's a timeline where you can, we have to sign up. There's a timeline when you can withdraw. There's a timeline when you can put a write-in in. And so it was when he conceded, it was after the timeline of him not being on the ballot, but he did concede publicly. So he's still on the ballot, but I'm still campaigning.
So therefore some people could still vote for him, right?
They can.
When I was so appreciative. I was like, oh.
I know, but I was so appreciative. When we haven't met yet, we've talked via text messaging, but we haven't met yet. And I can't wait to meet him and just say, hey, thank you for just even doing that, because that makes that's goodwill. Right.
Good. Okay, so what is your opinion in the current state of school? What is your opinion on the current state of schools in the district?
We need some help. I mean, every one of them, we need some help. We need to improve. No one's an A, except for Monmouth Early College, and so we got some work to do. We've got to look at going back to the drawing board and seeing what can we do. Now, of course, these numbers you saw recently are from 23-24. So I'm hoping that, and I don't know this, I'm hoping that the 24 ratings come out soon. And so we can look at those, and that'd be a little bit more realistic versus 2 years ago. So we can see where we really, really, really need to hone in on as far as the teaching part.
Right. So so in that state, what you said about that, what should the school district do to better prepare students for career?
Wow. Something really basic, and it sounds going to sound
everybody can't go to the early college.
Nope. It can't. And you know what, though? Just basic reading, basic writing, basic math. If we have some really good concrete teaching, and that's sometimes difficult because our kids don't want to all learn that. But, and it's going to sound a little bit different, but coming from if one student can go across the board and do the same. For instance, what I'm saying is at home, at school, and then back at home. If we can all work together to have that one student learn those things consistently, that helps a lot. And you see, I said home twice, because even though they're at school at most waking hours, but they need some of that consistency at home. And that calls for parents to do a little step up. I truly believe that parents are the first teachers.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so, because students emulate their parents or their guardians or whoever it is, they emulate what they do, and they emulate teachers too. Right. But if parents would say, you know what, I've got to teach my own. This is my baby. This is my child, and I want the child to be successful. I want them to be. Now, you always heard that they want them to be better than I was, et cetera, et cetera. That's okay. Right. But you want them to be, but how you want them to be successful? What are you going to be in this accountability of this? Don't give it all to the parent. Today, matter of fact, I mentioned to some underclassmen that, what are you doing this summer? And they're like, oh no. I said, well, this is the time for you to ask your parent, ask your guardian to start taking you to colleges. Don't rely on us to do it only. Because guess what? That child in a couple of years is going to want to go to college, going to go to university. And then the parent has never been to that university or college. It may be a first gen, second gen, I don't care what gen it is, but have never been to that school. They need to go see where their baby's going. So if they see it themselves, they may feel better about them going versus saying, oh, I just stay home and work.
You know, you work in the school district, so you can get more values in about that than anybody. So how does this position as being on the school board align with the goals of enhancing educational qualities and student outcomes in the district?
My position, my background is always been education, but not always in public school.
Right.
I've been in higher ed. I've been in public school, back to public school, and I did in middle school. Then I did high school, and I'm at high school. And so I've seen all of those qualities. Why? And people ask me all the time, why did you leave higher ed? Why did you leave higher ed? That's like a great place. And it was a great place. But I saw students not being prepared to be there. And so I'm going, why are they not prepared? What's going on? And then going to public school, seeing that they're not quite ready as far as soft skills. And that's what I heard from companies all the time when I was at higher ed, that the soft skills weren't there. And where do we learn soft skills from? Where do we learn? Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Excuse me. You're welcome. Thank you. And so those qualities, those are things you learn, and then using those same qualities to learn basic core.
Right.
From basic core, you can build on. It's like a scaffold. You can build on one thing to the other. And so a lot of those scaffolds are not quite done correctly or not even made. So they can't scaffold if they don't have it. And it's hard to teach those things when they are missing those, because guess what? We keep on going because we keep on teaching. And so that's a tough one. And we all have to work on all of those things. So, yeah.
There's a question posed out
I see
there.
the question right now. If I can change one thing in BISD, what would it be?
Yeah. Would it be teachers' raises?
Yeah, that's everywhere, right? Boy, we work hard to be a profession, right? We have to go through all those hoops to be professional and certified and all those things.
Right.
We get pennies for it, and because we work a lot of hours. But it's not only just one thing in BISD. There's so many, because it so goes together. And I can't change it by myself. It's a team effort, and there's a lot of research in there. And I truly believe once you get somewhere, and wherever it may be, it's for like marriage. You don't know how that person is till you're married to them. You can live together forever, but when you marry somebody, then you really find out. So that's like the BISD. Until I get there and see what's going on, I know the comings and goings, what the boundaries are, what the ramifications could be. Then I'll say, this is some things. Now I have ideas, but you can't say, okay, I want to do this, because it's not. I'm only one vote, first of all. So we got to work at it and look at it and see. I've got to do the research. I've got to see what is the boundaries, first of all.
Right.
That's where we got to understand that, we can say a whole lot. We can talk a whole lot, and we're not in there like committees, if I'm on committees or something else, until I'm on that committee, I'm like, oh, that's why we do what we do. But then at the same time, I'm going, okay, can we do it differently? I was actually about a class today, this evening, to a director. And I said, can this be done? And she said, well, I don't know. I said, well, just because it hasn't been done means it can't be done. Can we try it? Let's see if it works. And so that's, we got to look at all different angles. Everything's not always the same just because it's been the same. We got to look at everything and look at all angles of that one thing. I'll use discipline. That's a tough one, because we have a lot of safeguards in there to keep children safe. So we can't say, okay, we don't pat them all again. We can't do that for some reason, because the state says no. We might want to, but for many reasons we can't. Now at home, different ball game.
Different.
So sometimes it's not going to be the school that needs to do that. It happens at the house.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is your position on specific issues or policies,
Such as, give me one particular.
like the policies in the district, like what they do or how they operate or whatever.
Let's use dress code. Let's use dress code. I hear all the time from student side, why can't we wear whatever?
Right.
And maybe I'll use with Crocs. Biggie, that was the biggie.
Right. They love it. They love it.
Exactly. They love Crocs. Well, okay, think about if there's something happens and we got to get out of there quickly. Well, even with the Croc and with the strap in the front or back or the back, it's hard to get. You might lose your feet. You might lose your shoe getting down there quickly because, God forbid, you got to get out of there quickly. That's a safety hazard. So like we can't wear Crocs at different other places, because of safety hazards. So many times now we were from the generation that we took the rule and kept on rolling. We didn't ask why. Students ask why now. So you need to have a reason and know why. And once they explain some things, they're like, oh, okay, that's why I got it, And it makes some take it, some like, well, I still don't wear my Crocs. Well, it's a reason. And I tell students all the time, there's a typical reason that there's a rule made because something was broken or something happened. But that's why we had a rule for it. So as far as policies, there's so many reasons. And so looking back, a lot of reading and seeing what the policies they have for whatever it may be. May it be for discipline, may it be for attendance. And those are the things. Hoodies, oh goodness, hoodies are a big one. Hoodies are a huge one. Where I work now, they can wear when it's cold, they can wear the zip up kind only, or even any kind, the zip up kind only, because we have cameras, and if anything happens, we need to see who those people are, who those students are.
Right.
So that's why students love hoodies. They love hoodies now, and it's hot, So,
right.
But we got to see, and that's a safety thing again. Again, we need to see who you are, because and nothing bad if who you are, but just because anything may happen or if it may not happen, we need to see who those people are. Yeah, you're right about that hoodie thing.
Yeah, the hoodie. Let me answer this question right here for 1 second. And that's LaDonna. LaDonna said, invite me. I will, LaDonna. I was thinking about Thursday. I was going to get in touch with you to see Thursday, but because I have a meeting at 8:00, she's going off at 8. I couldn't invite anybody else on tonight. So let's look at Thursday. I'm sure you have my number. Just text me and we can talk about it. Okay. Thank you, love. Okay. So what is your opinion on the current state of schools and school districts? Did I ask you that question?
Yeah, but I can answer some more of that because I didn't. We're at a state of almost dire emergency. I mean, everything should have an urgency right now because our students are going into the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody uses pandemic and COVID, but this has been happening for a while. And are they ready to be in that workplace? Are they ready to be a viable citizen and worker? That's the bottom line. Are they ready? Are we getting them absolutely ready? And from home to school to the work to college or wherever it may be to the workplace. Are they absolutely ready? And that answer is kind of no.
Right.
In some cases. So where's the breakdowns? And we need to look at those breakdowns. We can point a lot of fingers, but bottom line, we need to actually put those fingers together and fit those together for the students. We really, really, really do.
Okay, is Toya still on? Toya? She must have left off.
I'm here. I'm sorry. I'm here. I'm
Okay.
Multitasking. Hey, how you doing?
She said, how you doing?
Oh, great. How are you?
Doing good. Thank you.
All right.
Toya, did you have anything to ask Yolanda?
No, ma'am.
Okay, Yolanda, let me ask you something about what issues do you believe are most important to the school district?
Consistency.
On who part?
Everybody's. I'm so serious. Everybody's. But also due diligence by our students. if we, from the top to the bottom, from the superintendent to the janitor, from the bus driver to the principal, to the school board, to the teachers, are all consistent and do what's right, our students will understand the boundaries. They know bounds. They know how to slip through whatever. They know that very well. They do. They do. And the consistency and doing the right thing by our students, making sure and I know, trust me, I know going into a classroom every day and being upbeat and ready to teach, and then something happens and you're like, but we got to focus on those who want to learn. We have to focus on those who want to learn. And then the ones who don't want to learn, let's try to figure out the reasons why or why not. Bring up, do some things in place to help them want to learn, because guess what? They're going to probably graduate, or are they ready? Right. I listened to it at our senior brunch today. I listened to Robert White talk about the transitions of life. And it's so true that students are not ready for those transitions. Are you ready to face those and get those ready? And I call it a railroad track. Are they ready from third grade, kindergarten, third grade, rolling it down, and getting to that part of having a job? Are they ready? Are they really ready? So yeah.
Here's a good question I want to ask you, because it's so wide. How would you let me see how I'm put this.
Let's see.
How would you implement or work with students with mental health and disabilities? And what are some specific strategies do you have for students with special needs or disabilities or mental health?
Well, with special ed, we already have so many things in place that are mandated. So a lot of those special needs and those type of already they're set in place. They're there. From nationals all the way down to trickle onto local, they're in place as far as special needs, with programs for those. Mental health is an upcoming, ongoing, huge,
very
huge.
And it's not only with the students.
Yeah. Mental health days. A matter of fact, I'll use to do a little shout out. Tomorrow, our staff is going to have a mental health, just relax day, and it's going to be. We need that because this is the end of the school year. We're blowing and going. We're blowing and going, and so
that's awesome.
And life is lifing with everybody. So just having that breather for a minute is really, really helpful. Students need breathers sometimes because you don't know what you're going to be coming from. You don't know every day, literally, you don't know what they're coming from. So you got to keep that. And I'm trying to keep the focus on the positive with that as a teacher. Let's just focus on the positive. Let's have our goals, daily goals, and let's make it happen that day. And that consistency, I keep on using that word because that's what we miss sometimes. Doing that helps their growth, helps them thrive, helps them reach their goals. May it be academic, may it be personal, may it be whatever it may be as far as a goal. And so having those every day, and that helps them. It really, really does. The expectations of consistency for students, and they know what to expect. They know the boundaries.
Right. Yes.
That's in any campus. That is in every campus. If they know what the expectation is, and everyone's on board from the top all the way down. I mean, if you have on a nose ring and everyone knows that they shouldn't have that nose ring on, everyone should be on top on that. And I'm looking at Patricia, what she says. Her job had 4 people set for interviews, and one was no show, one was 30 minutes late, and thought nothing of it. Asked for a bunch of money. And the last one was just public. No, they're not ready. And they, that is, why not? You need me. No, the job doesn't need you. You go to the next first thing. But
well, that's what they think.
They think, yeah. And I won't forget, I had a student years ago say, I want to make what my daddy makes. And he was in school at the time. And I said, so how many years your dad been working? He said, 30 years. I said, 30 years and no years. They don't match. It doesn't match. And I couldn't really understand that.
You can
I said,
understand.
no, I want to work with him. I want to work with what he makes now. I said, he's earned that.
He's
You
earned
haven't earned that. And
Yes.
so it took him a minute to kind of get it. And he still really couldn't get it for a while. But
right, right.
you know, coming up, showing up late. And now we talk about coming to school on time, being on time, coming to class on time. That's a habit if you break it all the time. And so whatever habits if you're doing now, they're going to happen later because you're not going to let your habit you have. But you do see that a lot, Patricia. You see that a lot on interviews and trying to get that in their head, be there on time, act though. Shake a hand. I mean, and we can shake hands again since pandemic's kind of passed. It's a lot. So yeah, we got to continuously those soft skills again. Soft skills. And so as Ms. Kathy Wingate says, we think about help with all the bullying in our schools. It is so much. It is.
Much.
And
that's why they get to come to my school.
yeah. Training and continuous training and being alert of those things and every story is different. Everyone has a different story about that. And getting to the bottom of that and having good investigative procedures in place, good thorough investigative procedures in place, that would help. Follow through on both sides. Sometimes parents might not, they know or may not know. If they don't know, they don't know. Can't help. If they do know, do they follow through? I had one not too long ago, not in our districts, just some people I knew asked, I said, did you follow up? And they're like, well, no. Well, it's going to continue if you don't see about it, and so investigated on both sides. And sometimes when you ask those questions, you kind of you find some holes in there, but it is real. But then again, if you hear about the bullying, and as a parent, I'm going to say on the parent side, they have to be real, they have to know their kids and make sure that they're talking to them, listening to them. I keep on reading about the young football player who just took his life recently. And his dad keeps on posting, talk to your kids, listen to your kid, talk to your kid, listen to your kid. And that is so true. Because you just don't know. They may be smiling and they're not smiling inside.
Not smiling. Right.
It's very true.
I know the time is drawing nigh, and I hate to get you off because I have a lot of. I have a lot
do have to meet
you, but I'm getting ready to go to another meeting myself.
Right.
So one thing I do want to ask: this is your first time running for an office, school board or whatever. How do you feel about it?
Very apprehensive, but very excited and very ready to learn. I know I've got to get trained. I know I've got to learn a whole lot. I've got to change my mindset from teacher to school board member. That's what it's a lot. Am I willing? I am so willing because I know this has been orchestrated by God. So I'm willing and ready. I have the experience as far as the teacher side and so the administrative side, but I want to learn more to make that impact. It is. It's a whole new dimension. I've learned so much in the last few weeks, just about elections. Period.
Right.
This is. You think, okay, I know a lot. I'm like, boy, I'm learning so much. It ain't even funny. But it's a good learn. It's a real good learn. So I am excited and ready to work.
Right. Okay. So I love you. I always have your back. You might not see me all the time. But
I know you do, but I'll see you tomorrow night.
Yes, I will see you tomorrow night. So if anybody over here on the other side want to learn how to line dance or do whatever, both of you and I have a great teacher. So we will be out there to help you out. We'll be at 6:00 at American Legion. You know the address over there, 3330? 33.
That's it.
Something West Corner Drive. Everybody know Dory Miller. So come on out there and let's learn these line dances. And it's good exercise. It's a total workout.
It's a good release. It's a real good release for teachers.
Yeah.
It's a good release for teachers and educators.
I'm behind you 100%. And I always say, if you need me for anything, I'm right here for you.
Yeah, we got a
Absolutely.
lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do in our district. We have a lot of work to do, and that's why I'm doing this.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So the clock on the wall says it's time to get to that other meeting. And I love you, and everybody tell you like thank you for being
Good.
on Blue
Oh yeah,
Talk.
see you soon.
We appreciate you, and at the end of the road is coming up soon. So we're gonna see you on the other side.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Y'all have a good
Everybody
night.
have a good night, and thank you for
Y'all
joining.
have a good night.
Oh yeah, by the way, LaDonna did come on and asked to come on the show. So I'm gonna look at my calendar for Thursday, and y'all look on the Facebook. I will put it out there that she would be here, or she whatever it's Thursday, Friday, whatever. But I will bring her on that one of those nights. I got to look at my calendar. Good night. Have a great night, and God bless you. God keep you in my prayer. If I can help
Thank
somebody pass along this way, then I know that my living is not in vain.
Hallelujah.
Smooches.
Love you.
Love you, baby.